We would have played it.
So the Watts curse. So I call it the Diablo Canyon Bowl. They played down there last year. Now Diablo Canyon is the reactor, the nightmare in the central coast of California. Cal Poly's, that's where it's at. So Cal Poly, by the way, was the last of the California University. Don't even get me going now. Anyway, they play here at the school that built the reactor at Diablo Canyon floor. Here, you know, so we're going to be doing the games. Now the last one that held on to the anti-nuclear fight was Tom Petty. Free falling. I want to rate her name in the rat over Mulholland. Now, do you know about Mulholland? You're an engineer. You should know about Mulholland. You know the great the civil engineer who he's the god in this part of the world. Not Hoover Dam, which was built by Wattis.
It depends. Because I'm chemical engineer.
Oh, you're chemical. Okay, so you know me. Yeah, chemical. I'm FU, which I call Fuktonium. So, but anyway, Mulholland is the guy who built all the dams. He's the god. So when Petty says, I want to fly over Mulholland, write her name. That's the reservoir. It broke. Do you remember the first reservoir the Mulholland did in L.A.? It broke and killed lots of people, lots of natives. And I'll tell you a great Utah story about Chavez Ravine and the Dodgers.
Oh, wow.
The Mexican people hated the Dodgers for decades. Still the ones I know still hate their guts. I'll tell you why. Chavez Ravine, Los Angeles, not to be concerned with Laurel Canyon. Oh, what's that? Shh, don't go there, Kevin. California, rest in peace. What does the Red Hot Chili Peppers in that song say? They manufactured in a studio in California. Laurel Canyon, the house. So, and then I'll talk about Crosby, Stills, and Nash. There's only one of them that still shows up with Mother's Peace. So, the dam broke. Mulholland broke. But Chavez Ravine was the last indigenous people. This was Mexico, of course, when the Mormons got here. You know, Monterey, California was the capital of Mexico. Not New Spain, it was Mexico then, when the Mormon Battalion. My great-grandfather, Abraham Hunsaker IV, Abraham Hunsaker I is the statue at Old Town, the first town of California. That's me. Oh, yeah. Try me on history. So, Chavez Ravine moves from Brooklyn, go Brooklyn Robins, to Los Angeles. They're going to build Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine. Oh, no, you're not. So there's a famous old agnostic socialist, famous governor from 1910, Deb Zombalco, Californian. Hardcore socialist, was governor. He's probably the most famous governor in the history of the state of the California.
Oh, wow.
His name's Olson. He fought him and fought him. He fought Chavez Ravine, protecting the indigenous people. He fought him and fought him and fought him. When they finally lost and took the last ones out of there and started demolition, Olson died the next day. Guess where Olson went to high school and was born and raised? Ogden High School.
From Ogden, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So all these roads, I mean, Manifest Destiny on chemo, they just slowly migrated to California. It took them a while, right? They had to slaughter everything on the way out. So, humans, fur, who's the savages? So, Stevie, Tom Petty was the last one that fought and held this off till '89. And this is coming right from Petty. I knew him through some other different people in my activism days, blah, 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 blah. So, Petty says, no way. So, when that album, you know, I saw Petty at the Salt Palace Assembly Hall. I saw Journey there. They're from the Bay.
A Journey?
You know how many people the Salt Lake Assembly Hall holds? I think 400.
Wow.
Nobody knew who they were, but we were rock and roll kids from this campus. Run this radio station. Anybody that came, we can. So that was, don't have to live like a refugee. You want to bet? So he held on. So he came out and became contemporized with Free Fallin', that album, Full Moon Fever. The publicist says, you're done. Nope, you quit, you take your logos off, your anti-nuclear energy, and he finally caved in. And that was in 1989. That was the end. And that was all post-Chernobyl. The PR firm's in earnest. Run from the IAEA. And none of you young students know anything about Price-Anderson. I want you to Google the congressional act called Price-Anderson. which is passed in 1953, I believe, which is the Congressional Act, anything nuclear, anything goes wrong, and they're not public utilities, you can't sue them. Hanford, look up what Hanford is. You know, and so any of them, you can't sue them, and they're privately owned. Talk about a business model to get rich. No wonder they love this thing. Government taxpayer flowing like crazy, no liability, freaking free money. You know?
That's it.
I mean, go to the...
better than that.
Yeah. Who's better than those killers?
Yep.
The killer in you is the killer in me. So, Stevie Nicks was so paramount because the most famous artist in the world, besides Stevie Nicks, was, of course, John Lennon. Now, Fama K. Brody died right after John Lennon was killed. Now, Yoko Ono, her father came from Japan. Now, Yoko Ono is the heir to the Japanese royal family. For real, look it up. She really is. Of course, you Google it, you're probably going to get me. You know, so when they came here to San Francisco, I mean, all roads lead to Cal Berkeley there, you know, and so the Russell Trust, we call it. So Stevie Nicks was that famous on the backs of rumors. I mean, she was an anti-nuker. She was a downwinder. The Robin Anderson story was gigantic in contemporary society. The rock and roll kids around here, the freaking music, I mean, in this country was all that, then some. We went crazy. I mean, she was it. John Lennon was it. JFK blown away? No, John Lennon. So you think about the capitulation. Imagine that. The capitulation to all this, I want you to think about this. From 1945, post the bomb, post the war, that the Russians lost 28 million men. The backs of that, increasing nominal wages in the great socialist nation called the United States, the most socialized people in the strongest middle class from 1945 to 1979. That's unarguable. That's not opinion. I'm talking fact. That's all I do is talk fact. I'm not opinionated. I'm not. I don't believe in opinion. I don't believe in conspiracy, whatever. I just talk facts. You know, just like all my Fukushima. Now, I hypothesize the knowledge early, but that's what good science do. First, you hypothesize the knowledge. Then you do the field work. I did 8 years of field work. Then you defend your work, and I've done all that. So, John Lennon was the guy. Now, this ties into nuclear industry. Let it be, Sir Paul McCartney, because Trump with his new hairdos, with his queen, going back after seeing a bee, just like Obama did. Obama and Trump, pro-nuclears, imperialist wannabes, the Trojan horses, who fooled the Democrats, fooled the Republicans, fooled the freaking ignorant. You know, that's just the way it is. They're the same nuclear energy imperialist teams. We produce more freaking 200% more solar energy in California a day than they can use. They have nowhere to put it because places like Utah, Nevada, freaking New Mexico, they block it from the grid. The feds block it from the grid because it's all about the money. The cover-up of Fukushima was not to protect you from panic, was not to protect the environment, was not to protect anything. It was to protect their financial economic interest, their money, just like with their PR firms who physically went after me, and I have proof now. They've come forward to me. Why in critical condition? Remember, I'm the son of a Special Forces Marine who was nuked to death in the Nevada test site. I mean, I was a pretty famous professor around here at one time. They blackballed me, take my clothes, you know, the school business here, don't go see the Dalai Lama, Chinese freaking, let's bring in goods from China oligarchy, when we were the #1 undergraduate program in the United States 9 consecutive years when I was there. Dr. Cooley died. They hijacked it. Now they rank 500 out of 5. Some guy over there told me the other day, he says, oh, Kevin, you know, we don't have good I says, good local students? Try me, fool. He didn't know who Mariner was, you know, and I says, why would any local kid go to your scumbag, what a piece of bleep? When we were #1, I graduated with the Japanese royal families there. His name is Mikado. Look up what Mikado means. Mikado means Japanese royal monarchy. So, Yoko Ono, she's anti-neo-Yoko Dadaism, as I call myself, the Dadaist artist, please. Dada was started as an anti-war, but the rules were to the moon. You had to have no money. You had to be poor. You had to use whatever you had to got. You had to be improvisation. I got that for free. My blood's for free. Yeah, right. So, she's the Dada artist in New York at the MoMA? Oh my God, please, Jackson Pollock, the Dripper, Kevin Blanche on Balco. Are you kidding? Andy Warhol, I always say Edie Sidgwick and Andy Warhol, you know, they used to call Andy Warhol Marcel Duchamp's bastard child. Elsa Plotch used to walk around with a tomato soup can made of bra in 1910 calling Mars, Mars, Mars. I tell everybody I'm the bastard son of Andy Warhol and Edie Sidgwick. They don't want to claim me. You want to turn your back on me. You want to throw me out because I'm not contemporized, go along with the winning team in the golden handcuffs. Then one thing I know, you should know, I ain't going to miss you when you go. And I'm not. You betrayed us. You could have stood your ground. How much money you got to have? They're old now. So Lennon's living in L.A. He's had it. He broke up with the Beatles over nuclear energy, and I can prove this. Let it be, let it be. Sir Paul McCartney's mother died very young of cancer. Did you know about Sheffield? They did. McCartney sure did. So did Lennon. Lennon was going crazy against the nuclear energy industry. On the backs, of course. 3 Mile and everything's going crazy. But even before then, this goes way back. So he'd write all these anti-nuclear energy songs. And my son, Sir Paul, says, no, we won't do them. They got in a big fight. So he claims that he had a dream in the middle of the night about his mom, who came to him and said, let it be, let it be. Don't fight back. If you're going to have a revolution, you can count me out. He wrote all that stuff. Lennon went crazy. Called him a panty painter. Well, he called him a diaper, called him a weakling, called him a coward, called him every name, because Lennon was hardcore. Do not kid yourself. So that's why they broke up. And so Lennon, Yoko Ono stalked him. He was married. Now, these aren't my words. These are Julian Lennon's words. Julian Lennon did a famous BBC interview, and he says, well, you know, Yoko Ono stalked your father while he was married to Cynthia, who's dead now. He says, stalked your mom, cut against everything, and just went after him, wouldn't leave him alone till broke up the marriage, blah, blah, blah. Ended up with her. It's kind of like she just stalked him. And then that's led to his death. You know what Julian Lennon said? Wasn't that the plan? Look it up, you don't believe me. That's what he said. And so she's living in New York. He's done with. He's on to her. He left her. He's living with a different chick. Because in his own words, they used to call him chick. That's not my words. Don't call me a sexist. That's John Lennon called it, I'm living with my chick. He's living with a girl in L.A. He's underground. He's underground because he's afraid of the nuclear industry and a lot of the stuff. He was getting death threats constantly. Check out Mae Brussels in Carmel. Ooh, what's that smell in Carmel? It's a dead well. So he's afraid. He's hiding in California. So finally Yoko, because he doesn't have a heroin addiction. He's got his bad addiction, cigarettes. He's smoking 5-6 packs a day. He's a nervous, neurotic wreck, and he can't quit. Yoko Ono claims she's got this Rastafarian, you know, Indian yoga Buddhist, which they were. You know, who knows more about Buddhist culture than Yoko Ono? She goes all the way back. The Chrysanthemum Empire is not Japanese. Just, they're Chinese.
Oh.
Just like, which ruled Japan. Just like the English royal family, they're not English. They're Germans. Just like the Russian royal family, they're not Russian. They're Germans.
Oh, they're Germans.
They're all from the same clan. Don't you remember 1916 when they were all bleeders? We call them the bleeders. Remember they were all one family? They were all related? So I want you to look up the DNA swap right now. They did a worldwide DNA when they dug up Anastasia's bones to find out who Nikolai, the Tsar Russian, killed, was the heir to. Look it up. Who won? I mean, thousands and thousands of people participated. You know who the heir, closest DNA match to the Tsar Putin, Nikolai royal family in Russia is? It's Prince Harry.
Huh.
They're all related. We all knew that. We call them the inbreds, the bleeders. By the way, Trump's related to them.
To them too?
Yes, so is Hillary Clinton. Hillary and Trump are both related to Joan of Bonaparte. Joan of Bonaparte is the Scottish queen, related to the queen, which, guess what? Her 2 sons were the evil rulers of Scotland that were, you know, when it was all the same clan. Unite the clans! William Wallace on chemo. Donald 1 and Donald 2.
Huh.
Look it up. You don't believe me? Look it up. So, Lennon, she talks him into come back. She's got this guy there to get him off. By the way, Yoko Ono and Linda McCartney went to the same high school at Indian Point, New York. Westchester County, right above. What? Is that even possible? Oh yeah, mutually.
Too many coincidences, right?
Well, is that mutually exclusive? I don't think so. So, you know, they're both billionaires. Billionaires.
Yes.
And so, she talks him into coming back. Now, I've done this work right at the Dakota. You can look up the videos. I've got lots of videos at the Dakota with Eric Oppenheimer. So that's Dennis Oppenheimer's son, the famous conceptual artist. That's who I've done it with. By the way, I protest there all the time. I was a pretty famous artist at one time. I still kind of am, but they blackballed me because of this. And I went to this Wada School of Art. I got kicked out. The painting I got kicked out, a guy named Jim Jacobs, the low-life piece of you-know-what here, kicked me out for, I sold for $30,000 3 years later.
Wow.
He hated me, and so he was just a weasel. Anyway, so the Wattis, you know, who built the famous art school in San Francisco is called the Wattis, is there too. It's the same Phyllis Wattis art. She lived here in Ogden. And so, Brigham Young's granddaughter. And so, Lennon goes back. He's only been back for 5 days. He's been working on Double Fantasy for years, writing it. So they get him in the studio. Yoko talks him in. And Yoko's doing her flocks. I mean, what a frock. Her toilet flushing. Remember, I should make you want to. And I'm an artist. I'm a Dadaist, if anybody doesn't know. If you don't know what Dada is, you watch my videos, you'll learn. You got to be poor. You got to be anti-war. You got to be peace. You got to be for the environment. You got to be radical. Picasso, Dali, Elsa Plotz, they were all Dadaists. You know, Surrealism on chemo, Cubism on Balco. So, he comes back. He's killed 5 days later. Now, this is not conspiracy. So, at the same time that he's killed, of course, Reagan, the purple president from California, who was a Democrat, Bechtel's baby, he was a Democrat, most likely gay, not my words, his gay son's words. He says, I'm sure my dad was probably. Of course, a lot of people say that about me, because the way I am, but I wish I was, and I wouldn't have to deal with a contemporary American female. So, because they're bad news, Stevie. Eek. Sorry, no insult, but I'm not politically correct. One thing I think you should know, I ain't gonna miss you when you go. None of you. Because I'll just lay me down in the tall grass and let me do my stuff. A little too old. So, you know, I was associated with Julian Assange with Anonymous heavily. Mm-hmm. And I did some videos in New York about Aaron Swartz. That's how I started the Million Mass March on this campus.
What do you think is going to happen to Julian Assange?
They'll kill him, just like they did Aaron Swartz. They'll kill him. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Julian Assange. You know, I'm involved with the original Anonymous, which is Aaron Swartz. I was in the courtroom, come out of the Bomber. I was in Manhattan on January 11th. I was in the courtroom in Brooklyn that day. There's videos. Then he come out, and Heyman and Ortiz, that was Obama. At the same time, he put Megan Rice, the anti-nuclear activist of Y-12, in prison for life. The famous New York nun, right there at the same place, Lower Manhattan. Madeline Rice, Dr. Rice's, NYU daughter, who, by the way, I just recently spent a bunch of time with her. She's at the Dorothy Day House in D.C. at the Peace Vigil. You know, she just cried and hugged me. So, Julian was just a reporter, right? So, you know, Pamela Anderson, the other LA girl, was been going into and sleeping with him. Do you know that? She's been going into the place and sleeping.
I didn't know.
Yeah, which she, So I did a video. I says, well, I don't know if that's a reward for being cooped up like that. She's a little old for me. And I got an email the next day and claimed it was her. And she says, oh, yeah? She says, I bet you wouldn't say no. I'm a little old wore out for you. He's claiming it was her. Now, I don't know if it was her or not. But I did get a check from Prince for $3,000 written in purple ink before. He watched a lot of YouTube videos. And he wrote Chemcell songs. He wrote Fukushima songs. He died on the Queen's 90th birthday, by the way, as Obama was holding the new King George. Wasn't the king named George when we had the revolution? The day that Prince died was the Queen's 90th birthday, and that's more Dadaism. As a prince dies, a baby cries. Nude descending down staircase, that's Deschamps. Dead purple nude found in elevator, that's my line about Prince. The great counterculture who stood up to him, just like Michael Jackson stood up to him. In L.A., Laurel Canyon, all roads lead to the musical, Stevie. They all turned their backs on us. Now, they're old right now, right? Mm-hmm. She's 71 years old. How much money? Why can't they break ranks now? Afraid they're going to kill you? Can't take your money. You got too much. You got so much money now. They're beyond legends, but they still won't break ranks. Not conspiracy. Keep going. I got time. Let me know when we get close. Because I'll go...
16 minutes.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Yeah.
So back to Julian. They say he's got some mental issues now going on from being cooped up so long. Now, the sex charges... Now, I know a lot about Sweden and Denmark. My lines are Danish, of course, but I spend a lot of time in Copenhagen.
He has charges in Sweden, right?
Yeah, and so some of them the statute of limitations have reached, but they re-upped them. Now, let me tell you what the charges are in Sweden. So he's in Sweden. He's become a cult figure. I think he has Swedish lines, doesn't he? I think he has Swedish bloodlines. So he's in Sweden.
Oh, he's Australian, right?
I think, yeah, of course, nobody from Australia. Nobody in Australia has, just like here.
Of course.
Yeah.
You
I think his bloodlines are
have to be
Swedish.
Aboriginal to be from there.
Remember when Trump used to say he was Swedish?
Yeah.
Lying. He's Scottish. And
He was saying that his father was German, born in Germany.
yeah, his grandfather was. Yeah, but that's a Freudian slip. And so his father, old man Trump, I can't pay the rent. All my freaking money done. That'd be Woody Guthrie. I did some great data videos out at Brookhaven on Coney Island at Woody Guthrie's house 2 years ago. Old man Trump, you know, that's real. Old man Trump, that's Woody Guthrie, lived in Brookhaven. He wrote that song in, what, the 50s. Talking about a songwriter. By the way, that's who Mick Fleetwood was trying to be. He was trying to be a little jazzier form of Woody Guthrie. Good luck to you. Woody Guthrie was a storyteller, right? It's like Bob, that's where Bob Dylan got all his stuff. Bob Dylan, you know, the Brooklyn boy. So, Julian, in Sweden, they have laws, so he meets these groupies, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah.
They sponsor him, he's over there hanging with them, you know, they're party. Well, he ends up sleeping with one of them. They live in a house together. Well, later in the night, the same 24 hours, he sleeps with the other one.
Oh, wow.
In the same, that's against the law in Sweden, without telling the other one. And he did it without a condom. So they have a law. So if you sleep with someone without using a condom, then you sleep with someone else without telling them, especially in the same space, without telling them you had done that, that's against the law in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what he did. They charged him, there's serious charges over there. So that's what they charged him with. And so that's what started this whole thing. In the U.S., he was free. So, you know, Chelsea Bradley Manning, who,
Right.
if you've seen the collateral damage video, tell me what you would have done. And he saw it. And, you know, he downloaded all of them. And by the way, she's back in jail
I know.
for the third time, which of all the anonymous, and I know them all, trust me, I'm the guy who started the Million Mass March.
This is a transgender
You're right.
soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's the real one. She's the one that has her heart in the right place. That's a true gem there, because it has nothing to do with your idealism on I don't even want to get into that. I want to talk about he did it out of his heart. He saw those videos and he says they're lying, and he downloaded. Well, he sent them to Julian. Now, did Julian Assange break the law? I thought he was a journalist. Now, I don't know. There's rumors that, I mean, there's some people in our crowd, the anonymous crowd, say there's pictures of him being CIA and NSA involved long before he ever got arrested. Now, I think that's probably true because my anonymous people tell me that. Now, Aaron Swartz was the guy, right? Aaron Swartz was in MIT Media Lab. He grew up on MIT. His dad was the janitor. Remember, he was the kid, 14-year-old. Reddit, by the way, they sure don't get it. I knew Aaron Swartz personally because he showed up in Williamsburg in Manhattan when I was there, hanging around with the counterculturists when he was a teenage boy. And he met me in Washington Square. All of them knew me because I was leading up post-ignorance. My post-ignorance, anti-social equality. My anti-nuclear freaking project. We're leading up for the 100th anniversary of the Shirtwaist Fire, which happened in 1911 on March 25th. We were leading up for the 100th anniversary. So that's how I know all these guys. Of course, Barrett Brown, just forward a link, he went to prison for 10 years. So, let's start this over.